This is the Henry's Child Podcast. Am I crazy? Or am I just raving? Episode 4, Parental Support and Getting Kicked Out of Bands.
Hey, Tom here from Henry's Child, and welcome to our 4th episode of the Henry's Child Podcast.
Number 4.
Today I'm here with Andrew Smith, and we'd like to welcome Rich Clinton as a permanent participant in this and our future podcasts.
Welcome, Rich.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be in the band. Thank you.
Well, you know.
But you're more than in the band now. You're on the band podcast. You've officially arrived, my friend.
I know you're apprehensive for the first 3 episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
I was scared.
I know. And so eventually Rich got over the fear and realized he was needed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once he had actually heard how much fun we had deconstructing I Will and Headlights,
That's actually true.
which were requests from all of our Facebook friends, we wanted to take on another request that we got on Facebook as well, which is how we write songs, or moreover, the anatomy of songwriting, specifically as it pertains to Henry's Child.
Arteries, veins, bones, sinew, anatomy, right?
Marrow.
Anatomy.
Oh, wow. Got it.
So today we wanted to focus on the creative spark that really generates the music that we write. I wanted to ask both Rich and Andrew their background when it comes to songwriting. So, Rich, I know you play guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I know you play lots of really awesome instruments, but moreover, you're a really amazing songwriter. In
Rich
fact, we wouldn't even have Henry's Child if it wasn't for Rich's songs.
Indeed. But remember, Rich doesn't play any instruments that aren't awesome. He only plays the awesome instruments.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of your gifts.
I've seen him with a kazoo before. I'm not sure that a kazoo is actually awesome. He could be, though.
What's Jordan think?
So background. When did you start wanting to write songs? When like wanting to write a song, Rich? When did you start that feeling?
Pretty much right when I started playing music.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, a little bit of background. I found out I had a little musical ability when I was about 7, when I got shoved in a room with a piano.
The piano story, right?
Yeah.
It's your cousin, right?
It was my aunt's house.
Tell that. It's a good story.
Oh, my parents were over at my aunt's house, and they just kind of shoved us kids in the other room, like you do.
With kids.
Yeah. And there was a piano in there, and I was bored, and I just started messing with the piano, but I started picking out songs.
You were 7.
7,
Yeah.
yeah. And they were in the other room. The parents were in the other room, and they kept wondering who was playing the piano. So they thought it was my cousin Lori, but they came in, it was me just picking out songs. Mostly religious songs because we were going to church a lot of the time. But yeah, so from there, they knew I had some musical ability, and they wanted to foster that. So when I got a little older and they offered, band in junior high school, they asked if I wanted to go in a band, and I said yeah. So I played the saxophone because my dad liked the saxophone. So from there, I mean, it was just, I always wanted to be part of the song where I would come home with my saxophone and make up my own songs.
I'm going to go back a little on the parental thing, though, because I think this is something that either parents or children, I don't know, we're all listening to this, we're all parents and children listening to this thing. So you were 7,
Mm-hmm.
your parents saw you playing, and they encouraged you.
Yes.
And when band came around and you were going to pick an instrument, they encouraged you.
Mm-hmm.
So backed you up on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that follows through before we get into where your songwriting came from. I remember the famous guitar, the Strat, like and also your first guitar. Didn't you and your dad buy guitars together?
Yeah, my first acoustic guitar, we bought guitars. He bought us guitars together
Yeah,
because
so
we were going to learn
your
together.
father bought a guitar for himself and for you.
Right.
Obviously to encourage you and for him to be part of you learning music.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Well,
again, really valuable, beautiful parental encouragement, which is
Sure.
awesome, and that's art. And so I just wanted to remember that. I love that little story.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to tell that.
Well, that never ended,
Yeah, I know.
You never quit being supportive.
Right. I know.
But the whole guitar thing came up when I was 14 because I met a friend, Mike Sears, who played guitar. And
Mike
of course,
Sears. I've met Mike Sears.
Yeah.
He's a cool dude.
We played music with each other for a lot of years.
Uh-huh.
Just the guitar was a better tool to learn how to write, to actually accompany yourself and write songs than the saxophone. That's hard to do when you have a
Very true.
horn in your mouth. But anyway,
We're going to tell that story later.
he played guitar. We were into rock music, of course, and there's no rock music without guitars. And well, we became friends, and so I wanted to know how to play guitar. So, got a guitar.
Right.
Taught myself how to play guitar.
And took over the garage, right?
Took over the garage.
And your dad fully supported that.
Not only did I have supportive parents at the time, I also had supportive neighborhood. All my neighbors around the neighborhood, because I grew up there, and they knew me since I was a little kid, and especially my neighbors to the other side, to the west of us, the Johnsons. She used to come over all the time and say, it would be noisy and everything else, but she'd come over and say that she was happy that what we were doing because they knew where we were. We're not running the streets,
right?
It's
amazing what that sort of support and encouragement can do.
Oh yeah,
that's how talent finally comes to fruition. But all right. So let's reel it back. Tommy's question: when did you first start writing songs? What was the catalyst?
The guitar, really. In honesty, learning 3 chords. There you go. And I started writing as soon as I could. 6 months after getting my guitar, I got my first electric guitar, and me and Mike and a couple of friends. It was actually a drummer named Rob. Excuse me, Rob Latz. It was 2 guitars and a drummer.
Nice.
Imagine that. We were already writing songs and playing, so within 6 months it was.
And Mike wrote too, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So you two fed off each other in the very beginning.
We had a handful of covers, but that was never it. It was always like, let's write our own stuff.
Yeah.
So, it was just always there, right from the get-go.
So
that was the tool to write songs.
So you'd say Mike Sears and getting your first guitar and all the encouragement from your parents just sort of let that whole thing come to fruition, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, it just came to me too. I didn't have to try. It wasn't.
No, it was already there, Rich. We know that.
Yeah.
It was already there.
So I know, we've talked about this on and off over the years, that you had a completely different course in how you got into songwriting.
Yeah.
But the difference between your upbringing and my upbringing is you actually had music in the house.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's a key difference. I agree. Which is really interesting. See, you had the super supportive parents. You also had the talent. And I know you've said you've never had any doubt around playing music. You knew you could. You just had the instinctual knowledge. Yeah, growing up though, my mom was an amazing singer and songwriter and played guitar. And I just grew up listening to her sing in front of people. And she had one of those voices that you heard her sing and it was her tone. She had you know what I mean? It's like the Johnny Cash thing. You listen to a voice and you know exactly what it is, who it is.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Liar.
Like
anyway,
you, right?
Right. Thank
He's
you.
smiling right now.
Yeah, I know. So I've always said if I had a quarter of my mom's talent, would be a superstar. She was amazing. And stopped playing because she got pregnant. So
see what you did?
I know, right? Been wearing that for most of my life. Still wear that, actually. Tried to take that off a few times, but I'm still wearing that. And from there, like first grade, played violin because I raised my hand first, and violin seemed like the most fun instrument to play in band. First grade in orchestra, played that for 10 years. I was
Zach Perlman. Come on.
Yeah, but I was the kid that never practiced and showed up and could still kind of play it. Never really got that great at it. Really though, songwriting came out of writing poetry. Started writing a lot of poetry starting around 9th grade, 10th grade, and boy, it was, 9th grade worthy poetry in the beginning. They were pretty straightforward poems, but I was proud of them.
Oh, teen angst.
Oh, yeah. Some strong teen angst. Then discovering Pink Floyd, right?
Right.
That was really a big thing for me. That inspired me a lot to write somehow. I really thought the way that Roger Waters painted emotions and painted feelings, I thought it was incredible, and it touched me on an extraordinary level. And inspired me to start writing. So then my writing got deliberately weird and still really facile,
right?
Because I was still a teenager. Kept at it though. And listening to music over the years, had an experience in college. Yeah, all right. So took some drugs in college. Took some drugs in college and took a lot of acid. And one night, tripping on 5 hits acid by myself, which is not usually a wise decision.
Good choice.
Yeah, thank you. Listening to Xanadu by Rush.
I thought you were going to say by ELO.
I thought you might say Olivia Newton-John. No, the second verse up to the pre-chorus and chorus. Something happened in there. in that moment, I don't know if it's breaking down, but it's an understanding of arrangement or the objective emotionally of a song, how the parts become greater when they're put together and how they can each progress and play off each other. Ever since then, I've had an unwavering belief that I could write a song. I was absolutely the catalyst. So you knew from the beginning.
Right.
I mean, I loved music. I had no idea that I felt the confidence of writing a song until I was 19 and had that moment. And I didn't know how to play a guitar or sing a note, which, I still worry about. But that was it. That was kind of a moment for me. Right. So kind of a later way, you always knew. And the way you write, I think everybody knows you've always known. Does that make sense, Tom?
It does make sense.
I mean, do you feel that way? You've always known?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I kind of, the songs that I give, like let's say we write a song together.
Right.
It's always like kind of half of the song.
Right.
And we've talked about this before.
Seed, right?
Well, no, it's not just the seed. It's like, it's pretty much always finished. I have some sort of idea in my head of what goes on next with it.
Sure.
But I don't I've always had an issue with just me singing myself. Or, I have no ego behind wanting to be a solo artist or anything else.
Right.
I always enjoyed the collaborative effort.
The chemistry.
Yeah. And just seeing where it's going to go because it's interesting. It's like you throw, you get different people in a room. You can throw the same music at 5 different people and separately they'll all come up with something different.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
As far as like a catalyst or a spark or how it works, you never know what prompts that little tiny mental wildfire.
Yeah, it's true. It's truly a gut feeling. I mean, I gave the example on one of the other podcasts where I remember you sending 5 riffs one day, and they were all good. You emailed them to me. It's back when you were emailing back and forth. I got to listen to them, and I listened to the first one. I'm like, that's cool. I mean, pretty much everything you send is always cool, but does it grab? Does it connect with me? Right? Because that's my only context, my only frame of reference is the feel that you're trying to portray, whatever you're trying to do in that riff. Right. Does it connect in that moment? So the first one I listened to, okay, it's fine, it's good. Keep going. Second one, that's fine, it's good. Third one, and bam. I remember it was the song Soon, which is going to be coming up on our new album. And I remember that riff and listening to it. And it was slowed down. It was just your guitar. It wasn't huge, but I heard it. I immediately had a melody for it and emailed it back to you. And you're like, that's cool. And our next practice, we expounded upon that. And it became a song that we're playing and recording now. So there's a feel with each time you create a riff.
Right.
And what does that connect with me? It might have connected with another songwriter, Mike Sears.
Right.
He would have heard it and thought number 1 was your best one, or number 4 was your best one. But with me, it was number 3.
That's just it. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot of little hurdles. First off, it's hard, and I got over this years ago. But you got to get out of your own way.
Yeah,
You can't think about it too much.
Slave to the song. Slave to the song.
It's that I live by that Ray Bradbury
quote.
Yep. Thinking is the enemy of creativity.
Yeah.
You got to go to the edge of the cliff, jump off, and build your wings on the way down. And
like
that's how I approach songwriting. You just play, and whatever comes out. I cannot. I mean, I'm sure I've pressed to it. If somebody put a gun to my head and said, write a song right now, I could sit there and formulate a song.
Yeah.
But as far as the stuff that sticks is the stuff that I have no idea where it comes from. It just hits you on top of the head and goes through your hands into the guitar, and there you go.
I prefer to say you have access to the black hole.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange thing.
Most people can't see into a black hole.
Yeah.
The truly creative people in the world can see into the black hole. They don't know where it's coming from. It hits them, and it goes. In retrospect, or in, I don't know, counterpoint, not truly that, I don't feel like my creativity is like that. I feel I don't have that sort of access that you have. I feel like I don't know if my gift or what I'm good at is building on that. So like typically you and I write a song, 9 out of 10 songs we write, you have a riff that starts, you have a feel that starts. And then it connects with me and I'm able to build on that and add a melody to that.
Right.
That's what, 9 out of 10 songs we write?
Sure.
I feel like that's where my strength lies. And that's part of the reason our chemistry works so well together, is that you're able to let go of this riff and I'm able to add on.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And there is, there's a bit of just letting go of the ego.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not having anything behind it.
Absolutely.
Because there's been plenty of times I've come up with ideas, and then you're like, yeah, whatever. And
Right, exactly.
And I'm a little like, why are you not seeing what
You're not. I wasn't connecting.
What's
I got
missing
it.
here?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, part of the thread that is running through this is also having the right people in the right circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. Right people in the right circumstances. You guys know the story of the first quote unquote band I was ever in, right? Mm-hmm. Remember the name?
I do. It was Floppin' Dead Cats.
Yes, indeed. With the apostrophe after the N and DED and KATZ, right? This is the ad that I answered. So I go join this band, and the bass player and drummer want to do kind of an upbeat Grateful Dead sort of thing.
Okay.
The guitar player is kind of into everything, and he's good. Guitar player Tom, great guy. I just remembered his last name actually. Toby would appreciate him.
It wasn't Cats.
No. Well, that would be awesome, actually. And anyway, so he and I end up writing all the songs. And the bass player and the drummer are like, I don't know, man, that's a little weird. That's a little intense. I'm not sure we want to do these songs because, and Tom is encouraging me to be as weird as he's like, he loved the stuff. He's always smiling. And
So we can blame him.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Of course. So we play our first show, which was at a house party out off Lorraine Highway. So there were, 100 people there, 120 people going through this house. We're playing upstairs because they had a great big giant landing. So yeah, blonde mohawk and all that, jumping into the audience and trying to make people slam dance while singing the songs and whatnot, and did great. People loved it. It was crowded. Had a great time. And the next day, the bass player and drummer asked me to come out to the house, and I go out there, and they kicked me out of the band.
The talk.
They kicked me out, and I'm asking why. And it was apparently because I was too weird. And it's just not the music. They didn't want to do that. It was just too weird.
Was that your only show?
Our only show.
You played one show and got kicked out of the band?
One show.
Wow. Isn't it funny that in bands you get the talk?
Oh, it was. Oh, absolutely. And dude, and you know my personality back then, right? I didn't take news like that very well. Yeah.
Did you start juggling?
I made him feel about 6 inches tall and said, fine, great. So Tom was at work when they did this, the guitar player. Again, he and I wrote all these songs together.
So he didn't want to kick you out of the band.
Well, it gets better.
Okay.
He comes home, finds out that they kicked me out, and quits. And calls me.
So he didn't want you kicked out of the band. Wow.
And so he calls me. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry. I don't know what those guys were thinking. Anyway, I just thought it's a great story, getting kicked out of my first band. And all the songs we wrote. Right. And what was great is, Rich, you remember you met Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, up in Seattle, right?
Yep.
He shows up that show we played with DOT.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But it was a good show. Just those guys were so, yeah.
Didn't I say something about letting go of ego?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. But Tom hung out with us afterwards, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was just amazed at what it had become. Was laughing the whole time. Now, I know me getting kicked out of a band after the first show is a pretty good story, but Rich's getting kicked out of the band story is even better.
You were too weird.
Yeah, too weird.
I was too fat.
Oh.
So that's the difference. Well, this is a different era now. I mean,
yeah.
If you kicked all the fat people out of bands now, there'd be no bands, right? Anyway, so my time is now. Anyway, this is the 80s, late 80s. It's the hair metal era, which is not what I started in. I started in more classic rock and early heavy metal, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, stuff like that. But anyway, it morphed at some point, and we had to just kind of follow along. And I'm playing in a band with guys that I started with in a band called Risque. Big hair and all, pictures to prove it, hidden away.
I've seen that hair.
But I wrote all the songs, of course, just like I've always done.
Now, did you write the melodies and lyrics back then, or did
didn't write the lyrics except for one song?
Okay. No, but so did the singer write the melody?
Yes.
Did you guide the melody or something? Because I could see you doing that.
Guided the melody in one song, but again, it was sort of like our what I like to do and who I play with. It's just that's your job.
Right.
You're the singer. You're the vocalist. You get to come up with lyrics. That's what you do.
Got it.
I mean, why would anybody want to be in a band that has one person doing everything for everybody unless you're making a lot of money? Anyway.
Cars.
Yeah. We're playing shows. We're doing okay, and kind of pulled aside one day. I come to practice, and in so many words, I get kicked out because I don't fit the model. But me being the guy I am, I'm like, okay, whatever. I was pissed. I put a hole in the wall with my fist. So, but I'm supportive after that. I'm going to go see him. And what are they doing? They're playing all the songs that I wrote. So it certainly didn't have to do with the end product.
Indeed.
Right.
That's right.
No, and that sucked. But I'm friends with everybody still. It was funny too because it's funny how time kind of smooths things over.
Everything.
The singer in the band, he goes back to when his name's Sean. He goes back to when we were playing in the garage, and he gives those garage days.
Mm-hmm.
That's his formative years. He gives us all the credit. So that's how because he wasn't a singer. It's much like a little bit like a Phil Collins type thing. It's like, hey, Sean, keyboard player guy, why don't you try singing? Okay, that's all he's ever done ever since, and he's had relatively good success at it. So
Nice.
Strange how things pop up like that. But yes, I've had the talk.
As have I.
Fun, huh?
And we've had to give the talk.
A couple times for various reasons.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Well,
It's an important thing. I mean, sometimes it can destroy a band. Sometimes it can enhance it, take it to another space.
well, it's a strange thing. It's like you have a small group of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very passionate,
It's intimate.
yeah, and you're around each other a lot. And most people that you meet, you didn't know beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And so
And then you go on tour.
and then you go on
And
tour.
you go on tour.
Then you really get to know somebody, right?
Yeah, truly.
Right. Well, and my position is like,
Spend all my money on porn and fireworks.
yeah. Jeez. He's not even a musician in the band, right? I have 30. I'm going on tour with $30. I think 1 hour into my trip, I'm going to spend $27
on porn and fireworks.
Oh, and beef jerky. Don't forget beef jerky.
That's such a beautiful story.
Okay, let's reel this back in now for just a second. The original intention of this podcast episode was to talk about how songwriting occurs in Henry's Child.
Right.
And one really interesting thing that you mentioned, Andrew, was that Rich had sent you 4 or 5 different ideas, and he sent them over email.
We did that dozens of times.
So,
it wasn't just 4 or 5.
But what happened before
right.
email was available?
Got it. Well, back in the day, we'd all be in a room together. Rich typically had a riff most times, and he'd start playing it, and we'd start building on it, and it may go somewhere, may not. He'd play another riff. So it was more like he was Mr. Live Jukebox. I mean that in the most complimentary way, because I don't remember you ever running out of riffs. So there might be some guidance. Like, I mean, I mentioned Tom,
Like
encouraging
right?
Right. Thank you. That was my guidance. How often it worked is kind of freaky.
Just to go back on your point a little bit.
Yeah.
What Tom asked was the fact when we used to play 5 nights a week.
Sometimes 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would just get in a room and play.
For
and
hours.
whatever came out.
For hours.
And then sometimes we record stuff, put a cassette player, put Jeff's weird boombox that wouldn't freak out.
And
in
it
the
had
corner.
great sound. Oh my God.
And record riffs. And then it would everything would happen from there. But now, with time and, with the tyranny of distance, right?
The tyranny of time and distance.
Yeah. It's just, you have to modify.
Yeah.
And so now, generally, what happens is I still come up with the riffs and I just kind of send them out.
Right.
And then we work on it. But we did have a new song that kind of went back to the old style of writing because we just happened to be together.
Be Still.
Yeah.
Now, you were there early, right? If I remember this right. You were there
I was
early.
there early, yeah.
And I showed up, and Tom was stuck in traffic.
Have to have a
I
little
remember
alone time
you were
with the
actually
guitar.
stuck in traffic.
It was a Friday. I remember that.
Yeah. And I got there, and we'd started BSing for a while, and you're like, hey, I got this cool riff.
Yep.
And that was the Be Still riff.
Yeah.
And I started singing the Ho, Whoa, Whoa intro on that.
Not very Henry's Child at all.
No.
Chanting over a melodic
Chanting,
guitar line.
No, we never do that.
No.
The beautiful thing, though, Tom, was what you said when you walked in. And I remember this. This was a thing. So we're doing that over and over like we do, grinding it in, right? Really, the 10,000 hours, repetition until we really find the rhythm. Yeah, exactly. We find the rhythm and the groove and the melody for that. So it really fits. Tom walks in and says, now I know why I fight through 2.5 hours of traffic on a Friday.
Right.
Immediately you plugged in and started playing. That was
It was
beautiful.
pretty awesome.
It was.
And of the
great
Rich,
song.
of the songs that Rich brings and the riff that Rich brings, I have kind of the sixth sense of what I know what's going to stick. Because you had already kind of laid something over it, and I'm like, dude, this is really awesome.
Got it.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, because it was built. We already, and it had been dialed up more in. I mean, you dialed in the rhythm, you dialed in your effects. We spent some time on that.
You know, there is an important point of
Go
all
ahead.
this that we don't think about. That we've been playing music together for so long. Yeah. We're like an old married couple.
I know.
We don't have to think about what the next person's going to do. I don't have to explain to Tom what I hear in my head.
Right.
You know, that the bass will be doing against something I'm coming up with. He just knows me well enough in my songwriting where he fits in everything. And it's the same thing. It's always a little weird bringing in a different drummer, in all honesty, because, you know, all of a sudden it's like but Toby's been great. I mean, he gets it. I mean, that's a you know, a large compliment to him. The fact that he's such a musician that he's like, he knows how to modify his skill set to what we need him to do.
And that's something we loved about Chris Cardwell too.
Absolutely.
He was a very musical drummer. And goes all the way back to Jeff.
Yep.
So it's really, as simplistic as that sounds, I mean, if you want to get to some other levels, sometimes I'll have words written ahead of time. I'll want to fit to certain melodies. Coming to you with a melody, and Until I Speak is the best example of that right now. That's all I had. I had a pretty good melody. I thought it was super catchy. The lyric was good. And we sat there together for 30 minutes while you went and found the chords.
So what is it? What's the key?
Chemistry.
Trust.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
You know what it is? I know you are a slave to the song. You know I'm a slave to the song.
Right.
And the egos get set aside, and we're searching for the song together. Is that what? I mean, that's so meta, but it's true. We're both just searching for that song. That song. Another great point is we almost let it go because we couldn't find a bass line that we liked.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it was all of us one day, including Jarrett, sitting in there and coming up with that bass line. And then on the fretless, which Tommy plays so well on the album, it sounds beautiful. But that really landed that. As soon as we got that bass line going, we were all in. The song was getting done. We knew it was good.
Sometimes that's what it takes. You know, it just takes a little, it's like the right color paint.
Yes.
You know, oh, there it is.
And you need to have the patience.
Right.
And you also need the belief.
Right.
Knowing, like what we have so far, this is really good. We got to find this bass line.
You know, but I don't. What is one of the things that we've stuck with since the beginning as far as how we approach songwriting or how we approach what we're going to do?
Wow, melody.
No,
go ahead.
Think about the overarching kind of idea of what we had when we first started, and it's never changed. It's been our MO since day one. We're going to do whatever we want to do.
Exactly.
We're not going to put any limits on any ideas or styles. Yeah. We're not going to do that to ourselves. So there's no holds barred. Somebody wants to come in with a reggae idea, and it works with us, and it grows. There you go.
I think that's shown graphically on this new album with Until I Speak and Sooner or Later and Wires and Brace Yourself. There's no
almost
limit.
Gone.
Yeah,
What
almost
am I
gone.
playing on Almost Gone?
Yeah, exactly. What is that style of music? I totally agree, man.
I'm not even playing guitar.
I know. It's a mandolin, right? So that's been fun.
From the band that brought you Headlights, and honestly,
Victim by Choice.
Right. So I mean, I think that's important. When you put limitations or you put kind of parameters around what you're going to do, how you're going to write, I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, it's not
I
fun.
feel sorry for bands that feel like they have to do that.
We actually did it to ourselves a little bit on Clearly Confused.
Right.
We did that to ourselves, to our detriment.
And yeah, we've heard some backlash against doesn't sound as open, doesn't sound as fresh, doesn't sound like you're just
being yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and we got over that. That was one of the first things that Rich and I bonded over. Is again, even the first song we wrote in the basement. He had 2 notes and some words, and I came up with the melody. And I think ever since then, we've trusted each other. I know he can write. He knows I can write. Sometimes we get there. Sometimes we don't. And that doesn't matter. Sometimes it's something great. Sometimes the song doesn't finish. We can get frustrated with each other. We can get angry. We still trust each other and know we're going to do our very best. And we trust in each other's abilities to enhance whatever we're trying to make.
Sure. And that's not a learned behavior.
No.
I don't know it's just a natural fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. From the very beginning, first time we tried.
just lucky.
Yeah.
You're lucky you find people that actually work together and have the proper chemistry, and you can dissect it as much as you want.
Right.
You're still not going to, there's a spiritual aspect to it that
Yep.
you're not going to be able to touch on.
Yep. There's a connection
You
there.
know,
There's a connection there you don't feel with most people.
Why it makes you feel a certain or resonate a certain way, and why it makes somebody else resonate a certain way. It's like, that's like I said, that's spiritual. I have
Indeed.
no idea how that works.
I think every songwriter who's actually connected with another songwriter and realized that 1 + 1 = 3 or 4 or 10 understands exactly what we're talking about.
Sure.
I agree. And in this case, I have to get kind of nerdy on it, Andrew, because
Nerdy.
in your case,
Nerdy.
1 + 1 = 11.
11.
It's exponential.
Oh, I like that.
That's why, unlike getting together 5 or 6 nights a week, we only get together 1 night a week. We wish
Yeah.
we could, but now things are different. We're spread all across the state. And somehow or another, we come together and make it happen.
We do.
But that's true. And as far as the time and the way time is spent, but part of it, think about it. We would not be able to do that now if we wouldn't have done what we did in the past.
Of course.
If we didn't play 5 nights a week and put in all those hours of getting to know each other and hone our songwriting skills, we wouldn't be to the position where we are now, where we can actually be separated and come together and be very, very
Productive.
just
Productive.
symbiotic.
Yeah. And to where it's just immediately
Symbiotic and synergistic.
Gistic.
That's the word I'm looking for.
symbiotic
Yeah.
and synergistic.
Getting
Sure.
way
Go with
more
those.
out of it than we,
I like
it is a symbiotic relationship.
It is.
We feed off of each other. It's like
Absolutely.
your ideas don't exist without my ideas. My ideas don't really go anywhere without you feeding off of it. So
Yep. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Okay. Thanks, guys, for coming over and chatting about songwriting and bands and getting kicked out and all kinds of good stuff.
Can I get my parking validated?
I can validate your parking.
Thank you,
Yes,
Tom.
indeed.
Where's the free beer?
You drink it.
You drank it already. And as always, if you liked what you heard and want to hear more stories from Henry's Child,
More stories.
please do us a favor and subscribe to us on iTunes or Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. If you really liked what you heard, please go to those stories and give us a 5-star rating so that we can continue to bring these podcasts to you.
More ravings.
More ravings.
More ravings.
If you want to get a hold of us, go ahead and write us directly over email at henryschild@henryschild.com, or you can always reach out to us on Facebook. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
I thought he was going to say indeed.
It came out my mouth.